Welcome to The Movement, the podcast where we celebrate 165 years of impact and look ahead to 165 years of empowering our community with the YMCA of Greater Kansas City. Join us as we share remarkable stories from individuals whose lives have been transformed by the Y across the Kansas City Metro. From members and volunteers to community leaders and associates, their journeys inspire us to keep moving forward and making a difference. Get ready to be inspired by The Movement. 165 years of impact, 165 years ahead. Let's go. Hello to our YMCA friends and family. Welcome back to The Movement. We are celebrating 165 years of service right here in the Kansas City Metro. We're out on the road again, where the Y is making a real difference every day, whether it's in our family centers, program sites, or on our playing fields. Today, we're diving into something that's been in all of our hearts, the impact of the pandemic on our kids, especially in elementary school. We know the challenges have been real. Some are learning loss, social struggles, mental health concerns. But here's the good news. The Y has stepped up in a big way. From learning hubs and tutoring programs and mental wellness initiatives, we've been there to help kids regain their confidence and reconnect with friends and get back on track. The YMCA has prioritized mental and behavioral health support for children by introducing social emotional learning programs, mindfulness, activities that are supported by peers in groups to help children manage stress, anxiety, and emotions. YMCA staff have been trained in Trauma Smart, a trauma-informed care program to better recognize and respond to signs of emotional distress in children. These are in the Y summer camps, before and after school programs, and recreational activities to provide a safe space for kids. Today, the story is about resilience and adaptive innovation. It takes place in the Y's Youth Development Services Department in the Lee Summit School District. Y Club provides students a safe space for before and after school for working families. In Y Club, students are provided a healthy snack, an opportunity for choice station rotations, and physical activity as well as enrichment activities. We're blessed to have the funding and support of the Jackson County Children's Services Fund so that the Y can employ behavioral specialists like the one sitting to my left to work with Y Club staff and students, supporting positive behavior strategies to help students find success in our out-of-school time. The behavioral team is an integral part of the YMCA and the Youth Development Services and sets the YMCA apart from other child care providers that they have Y staff that are focused on Trauma Smart to support those students in behavioral needs. So today we have Sydney Smith to my left, a behavioral specialist for Jackson County and the YMCA of Greater Kansas City. And we also have Brecken Schroeder, a student at Lee Summit Elementary, and his mother, Brittany. Welcome to The Movement, folks.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Thank you.
It's good to see everybody. So Brecken, another snow day, out of school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Brittany, quite a few of those this year so far.
You know, I've lost count, honestly.
I know. We just continue to wake up, and today I think it was 4 degrees. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with Sydney, and then we just kind of follow around. I'll have a few questions. We'll just kind of back and forth a little bit here and have a conversation about some of the cool stuff that's happening in our wide development programs here in Lee Summit. So Sydney, maybe just tell us a little bit about your background and how you became what you are today.
Absolutely. So I started my journey working with kiddos at the ripe age of 15 years old. I started in early childhood working with 2 and 3-year-old kiddos, which, oh my goodness, just the excitement we need in that department. I did transfer over after working in a couple preschool centers to focus on special needs children in early childhood. So I worked with First Steps program in Missouri, which is a behavior ran support system for early childhood kiddos. And then quickly following COVID, I got my job with the Lee Summit School District doing site director for Lee Summit Elementary. So I worked before and after school program with our elementary kiddos, where I met my lovely friend Brecken. My first year starting there. And through working with kiddos at Lee Summit, it is a very high behavior needs school. It's a very transitional area. So we see lots of different backgrounds and different diversities there. So working with those kiddos who needed that extra hand kind of got my foot in the door back into the behavior world where I focus all of my time now on all of my friends.
Yeah. And so Maybe explain a little bit too about what a behavioral specialist does and how your work impacts students at Y Club.
So here, our behavior specialists, we work with 19 different schools. We do work with a couple Kansas City schools as well for Jackson County. We go out to different schools that have recognized students that need extra support care or any type of supportive materials. I work with a lot of children who do have special needs. So I see a lot of autism spectrum disorder and things of that realm that just need a little extra support to be successful in a group with other kiddos. So we do travel around to different elementary schools. We do perform observations of those students so that we can get our support systems very categorized for those kiddos to meet that need as purposeful as we can. And then we follow up with those kiddos too. So eventually they don't need us forever and they can be successful in the world as they are.
I love the word kiddos. I think that's just such a cool word. As soon as you say it, it just kind of softens your heart. And you're like, man, that's right. I'm working with kiddos, man. Kiddos. So we'll come back to the story here in a little bit second, but I'd like to step over to Brittany and just, can you talk a little bit about Brecken and maybe describe what life was like before he started the behavioral support work that he was getting with the school in Y Club?
Yeah. So we have attended or did attend Lee Summit Elementary from the time Brecken was in kindergarten through 5th grade. We worked a lot in the beginning, those kindergarten and 1st grade years of developing a behavioral plan. We knew he was maybe a little bit different, needed some different needs or some different supports, but we weren't quite sure why or what. So we worked with just teachers one-on-one. What does that look like? Whether it's breaks, extra conversations, that kind of stuff. Then COVID happened and we came home and we hung out all together for a little while.
Yes, then the world just stopped and hung out at home.
At home for felt like a very long time.
Yeah.
And then the doors opened and we realized that at school was where Brecken kind of flourished best. So we chose to send him back the first when that was an option. And we kind of leaned into support and what that looked like there. Then Sydney came around and we worked a lot with her on support and needs. We actually, through conversations, his last year there, did some testing with Brecken. We thought maybe it might have been on the autism spectrum, found out that he had ADHD. And with that diagnosis, actually, we were able to lean into support that was offered not only through Y, but through the school.
Right.
And just, obviously involving him throughout the whole process, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, I think the unique thing, and we've learned this in the past, and it's been on some of our podcasts, but the unique relationship between what Y Club does and try to balance and support, and maybe you'll get to that, Sydney, but just how the school district and the Y work together in best paths to support the students. It is a continuum of care from AM to, drop off, whatever that might be, all the way to, when they get picked up after school. So Sydney, a quick question for you then.
Yeah.
Let's start this in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
You're at Lee Summit Elementary. You've met Brecken.
Yes.
Tell me about the boy you met then.
So when I met Brecken, he was very independent and so incredibly smart. I knew Brecken for 2 days before I knew his intelligence was just off of the charts. He is so incredibly smart, and I know you still are. He is so incredibly smart, and I made it kind of my goal when I got my job. It was, we have a kiddo who may need a little extra help, and me being that child 20 years ago and knowing that I didn't have people like that, I kind of made it my mission to be that person and kind of looked to Brecken to build that relationship and that bond. So Brecken always had a safe person to go visit with. So I saw this little guy who just needed somebody in his corner, just needed someone to hear him and be there for him. And we got to know each other really well. We spent lots of time building Ferris wheels and cars and drawing and doing all these different art projects and just things that really focused on Brecken's interest and how we could help Brecken want to be there and want to be spending time with us and our friends and everyone there. And we made that relationship building just paramount for that system so that we could kind of find out what worked for him and how he was comfortable.
Brecken, do you remember meeting Sydney for the first time?
I think so.
It's a while ago, several years.
It's been a few years. 2021. That's a few years ago. So let's take it to the next step. So,
Yeah.
you've worked with Brecken for a while, and the traditional stuff, as I understand, wasn't working, and suddenly you got a little innovative.
I did.
And take us down the path of what happened in the classroom and just how in after school and how that all came to be.
So my main focus as a behavior specialist is that I want my kiddos to feel like they are no different than anybody else. We are one and the same. We love each other the same. And traditional supports don't work for everybody. And I think that's part of our job as the behavior team, is recognizing that we do use lots of different things for different kiddos. They need different things all the time. And for Brecken, that support plan, I actually adopted for our entire site. It was in a site-wide incentive program that we wrapped around a Harry Potter theme. That was kind of what we were all about at the time.
Brecken, are you a Harry Potter fan? Okay, just making sure. Okay.
We have done we started Harry Potter, our Harry Potter theme back in 2022. So we ran that program for several years, and it is still running to this day, even though I am not there anymore. And that incentive program had all of our students separated by personalities and different ages so that they could make those bonds with kiddos that were younger or older. And it also helped our older kids like Brecken peer model for those younger kids and be an older student that could help younger students tie their shoes or help get guidance. And they earned points as their teams throughout the year, just like they do in Harry Potter. So they had that incentive to have those. And then at the end of the year, at the last day of school, which is an early release, my kids got to have a big Harry Potter house party where they celebrated their successes. Typically that involved like pizza and water games and things like that. And we did that every single year. The kids look forward to it every single year. And that was like their big hoorah for all the points that they earned. And my team, who earned the most, which Brecken has full bragging rights. Every year he was in my Harry Potter teams, his team was successful in winning the House Cup, quote unquote. And they got a little goodie bag and certificates to go home and bragging rights. So he was always my little house prefect. He was always helping my Slytherin house. And that program was a big turning point for the program as a whole and for Brecken to be able to be a leader in that form of sense.
Who's your favorite Harry Potter character, Brecken?
Either Draco Malfoy or
which one you thinking I can help you?
I remember I just have to think of what movie. Oh, and Dumbledore. That's what it is.
Dumbledore.
Very nice.
There was somebody that was at the YMCA before me had a Dumbledore hat in the corner all the time. It's just a big tall one, and you'd get him to put it on every once in a while. Brecken, what is your you've been with this Y Club for several years. Tell me, what do you enjoy most about it?
I think like being able to come in the morning and not have to like stress about stuff. I just come in and I get to see my friends. I just kind of get to hang out for an hour, and it always made me like want to get up, and it was something exciting to look forward to.
Yeah. And then you'd go to school, right? You do your school stuff,
mm-hmm.
and then you'd come back in the afternoon after school is out. What was the afternoon like for you?
It was pretty good because you just kind of got to relax. So it wasn't like you would come to school in the morning all tired, and then you would go home and be more tired. You get to like come back and just kind of get to hang out. So it was like a break from school.
Yeah. Did you ever have a favorite activity that happened?
Either going to the gym in the morning or going outside in the afternoon.
Kickball was always everybody wants to play kickball at all points in time. We rolled out Quidditch a couple times, and that was a big game for a while too.
Brecken, who were your, or still are? I mean, who are your friends? Who are some of your best friends that you met at the Y Club?
There's a kid named Jaden that I used to hang out with like all the time.
He moved away, or you guys are still?
He's still in Lee Summit Elementary, whereas Brecken has progressed to middle school.
Okay.
There was, who else? I've made a lot of friends. I have to remember some of their names.
Okay. The point you just said, I think, is most important. You made a lot of friends. And I think that's what's unique about how you get that free time to, maybe they're not in your class during the regular point of the day, but you have a chance to meet some other people and mingle. I'll just say mingle with some other kids. That's cool.
I think the other thing is like on Fridays, because we would have late start, you could like some of the kids who were like car riders or bus riders could come in the morning, and usually some of my friends would come in. So it would be like I could show them what to do and just also hang out with my friends at the same time, which was always nice.
Appreciate you being a leader there and taking charge, showing them what to do. Brittany, what changes have you noticed? Maybe we break this into two parts. So let's do before and after working with Sydney. Maybe just what you noticed in Brecken and after the work.
I think before it was very segmented from the standpoint of like it was during school and then it was at Y Club. One of my favorite things we got to do when we started down the path with Sydney was have a giant care team meeting after school where it was not only Sydney and the Y Club staff, but it was Brecken's teachers. We had the principal in there, his regular elementary school teacher. So getting to show Brecken that everybody is here for you all at once. The other thing I loved hearing was Brecken getting to come home and say, oh, today I was walking down the hallway and I got to go see Miss Sydney, or I needed a little break today and my teacher let me go see Miss Sydney because I knew she was there. And so like circling back to her point of creating that friendship and that safe space for him, it really gave him, as we work through like emotional regulation, that safe space to know no matter what happens throughout the day, if I just need a hug or I need a smile or I need a piece of candy, which is Brecken's favorite thing, or a piece of gum, I know where I can find that at. So that was definitely a bonus for him.
Sydney, what positive changes have you seen in students as a result of some of these interventions on the behavioral side?
I see a big heightened sense of belonging with my kids.
Love that word.
Giving our kiddos a platform to feel like they belong and feel that they are loved at school, at class, at Y Club, everywhere in between, that they know they have a place and a safe person and they know they're cared for. Are just things I've seen grow through time. Through our partnership with the Y, it has given those baselines for us to build these relationships with these kids for longevity so that they know that we're not going anywhere and we're always going to be here, regardless of whatever happens in between.
How do you, Sydney, this one's for you. How do you, here you have these parents that we're working with, not only in Trauma Smart, we're working with our staff and the students, and then now we're working with students and parents. Maybe talk just a little bit about how do you collaborate with parents to reinforce the behaviors at home? I mean, you're working at school.
Yeah.
How do you work with parents to take that homework home?
Yeah, so I am a big collaborator. We also work with Trauma Smart to facilitate a program called Smart Connections. This is a program that teaches parents emotional regulation tools for their students at home. So we have hosted 4 of those classes in the Lee Summit District this year. We are working on getting those scheduled for YDS all the way around so that we can provide extra support for parents. But in my day-to-day, I learn the most about our kiddos through our parents. They can tell me more than anyone else can, and they know more about their kiddos than any of us do. So being able to sit down and talk with parents about what they feel at home and feeling like their kiddos are completely different children at school than they are at home, and kind of working that line and bridging that gap so that we can support in a consistent way, just like they do at home, in order to help them be successful at school as well.
And let's talk a little bit more about these strategies that you find most effective.
Yeah.
When you're talking about self-regulation, and maybe explain that a little bit, and then conflict resolution skills.
Yes. So in our self-regulation schools, a lot of our students struggle with holding their emotions. We have a lot of anger upsets. We have a lot of high emotions. They happen with life, just like they do with adults. And working with students on tools they can use to help navigate through those emotions, whether that's taking some big breaths or meditating or finding a tangible item that can give them relief in a small sense. Using those types of support tools in order to support those kiddos during those times of upset are so influential, and they help a lot of our students who just need some sort of sensory input and work through. And then adapting that to home, like with Brecken's case, we would send things home and we would work with mom, and, we communicate through the entire process, from the beginning all the way to the end when they eventually leave me and go to middle school, which is the most heartbreaking thing to happen. I'm pretty sure Brecken's last day I cried like a baby. And we stay with our kiddos from start to absolute finish so that we can make sure they are at their best and can be the most successful. And we want to see them get to that point too.
Brecken, how do you think the YMCA program and working with Sydney has helped behavioral issues for you?
I think it helped a lot because I remember when I was a lot younger, like in kindergarten and first grade, I would get upset like every day. So I wouldn't be able to like hang out with anybody, or I wouldn't be able to stay in the classroom. I'd always be somewhere else trying to regulate my behavior. But I think when I started working with Sydney, I think I got my emotions calmed down and I got to like enjoy being in class instead of leaving the class all the time and not being able to do anything. And everybody just like, I guess looking at me like I was the angry kid. And I think it also helped me make more friends with people because not everybody looked at me like, oh, that's the kid who's just going to get upset and then he's going to have to leave, so I'm not going to have anything to do. And then it's kind of off topic, but I remember on my last day of elementary, some of the kids were like, they were moving to different schools. I remember a lot of them were upset, so I just kind of went around and made sure everybody was okay, and that made me feel great because it was also some of the friends that I had, so it was like it felt great to see them be happy instead of being upset that they had to leave or I had to leave. So it felt really good.
It should. You should feel real good about that. That's just great leadership skills. Good for you, Brecken. That's awesome. Brittany, talk a little bit about how Brecken's progress has affected family dynamics. How the strategies have worked home. Stay on this home front conversation a little bit.
Yeah. So Brecken has a younger sister. She's 7. She goes to a different elementary school now. We've since moved. But I think being able to implement those tools and things that we learned with Sydney, and bringing those home, helped their relationship, kind of as he touched on right at the end. 7-year-olds do, they're in that emotional front. So he's able to...
So are 58-year-olds sometimes.
He's able to kind of bring some of those tools and things he's learned to her and help her, if she's feeling sad or upset. The other day, actually at dinner, we talked about just working through how do we make friends, positive friends, and how do we work through scenarios with kids that may not quite be as nice. And he was able to kind of touch on, here's some words you can use, or here's kind of how we let it be water off a duck's back, so to speak. So it's great to see that even in middle school, he's able to bring those things he learned at a younger age home to his sister.
Sydney, I talked a little bit. Do you want to say something?
No, I'm trying to choke back my tears over here because my sense of pride in everything Brecken has done is so high. It pulls the emotion out of me. So I'm sorry.
Okay. Brittany, what's the moment that stands out to you as the turning point in Brecken's journey?
I think through just all of his elementary school careering, as he touched on earlier, helping him be able to stay in the classroom more. I remember the first time, I feel like it was like post-COVID, but maybe 4th grade, I would say, where we made it through a whole week through strategies that have been implemented where he was able to like stay in the classroom. We were able to use all the tools we learned, implement those little incentives that we learned. And just that for us was huge. Obviously he alluded to making friends, but, that loss of instructional time, that all of that factored in, just him being able to stay in the classroom for a whole week was just so beneficial to us. And I'm like, we're pushing forward, we're making it, we're doing it. So that's been that was super great for us.
Brecken, what can you share just a little bit more about Sydney? And what do you think was the most helpful?
I think the most helpful was whenever I needed somewhere to go or someone to talk to, there was someone to talk to. Because I don't really like sharing with a lot of stuff with people, but when I needed someone to go, I always knew where to go to. And it was always she would listen Even if she had something to do, she would always take time to listen and have an answer or something prepared to help, which was always great. I remember in like 4th and 5th grade, I would always, because I think in 4th and 5th grade, I wasn't going in the afternoon anymore. So I would always try to find a time to go say hi and just talk about something or take candy or find something to do.
We had like a 2:30 intermission time where he would come see me and we'd grab a piece of candy and he'd tell me about his day. And I'd say, okay, I'll see you in the morning. You have a good night. And he'd go, okay, bye. And then he'd come back 5 minutes later and he'd want to talk again. And then I'm like, Brecken, you got to go back to class. You can't stay with me forever. And then he would eventually tootle and we'd make our waves on his way out the door. So that was our like little intermission point when he no longer visited me in the afternoon.
Well, there's what I hear is trust. What I hear is building relationships, and trust gets built. So building strong relationships, building trusting relationships with students, and you have an opportunity to transform behavior. I know we're talking about Brecken, but I'm assuming you've seen this over and over with many kids that you're working with.
I do.
Let's talk about maybe how the peer-to-peer situation works, and talk a little bit about peer mentorship and positive role modeling and how that plays a role in supporting students who struggle with behavioral challenges.
So a lot of our older students, especially those who do have behavioral struggles or need behavior support, really strive when we give them a job and a purpose and something to always look forward to each day, whether that's helping a kindergartner tie his shoes or helping prep an activity for the whole group or teaching the whole group a gym game or facilitating kickball or just kind of being that paramount person who's also not an adult, because some kids really just want to talk to other kids. They don't want to see the authority figure of a teacher or a staff member. They want to have another kid they can ask for help and have that sense of independence still. So by adapting peer mentorship with my older kiddos, Brecken was a wonderful example, but I still have multiple 4th and 5th graders who work as a peer mentor. They kind of guide their group of students who are all younger, who have very similar personalities. We try to group as well as we can with personalities so that they can help in the best way suited. They are with kids who have the same general interests and have the same kind of baseline of a personality, so they can kind of branch out to be friends with other students who are different ages, because in our programs, it's not like classes in school. We are varying ages. We have kindergarten through 5th grade. And a lot of times our 5th graders don't want to hang out with kindergartners, and that's okay. But from a way that it comes as a helping standpoint and not so much as you have to hang out with your kindergarten friends, you can help your group and earn your positive enforcement by doing so, but you're not mandated to hang out with these kiddos. You help guide them because we've been there and we know how to run it. And he is just as capable as I am as helping his other friends learn how do we run things. And he did a great job of doing so. And so do my current peer workers. And nothing's better than hearing from your peers that you're doing a great job.
Brittany, what would you say to other parents who are considering Y Club or just have kids facing similar behavioral challenges?
I think I would definitely recommend Y Club. It's been a great support for us. I know even with our youngest, we don't have to worry that even though she's moved on to a different elementary school, she still attends Y Club, and the staff there are great. They know her by proxy of her brother, and they know obviously all the work that they've put in to assist Brecken, and I know that level of care will transition not only to her but to her peers, and I think just leaning in and that learning that for other parents, the school and after school cares can be beneficial. We wouldn't know that Brecken has ADHD or have even thought to maybe test. I mean, we might have, but I don't think there would have been as big of a push had we not had the support of Y Club. So definitely those who are maybe on the fence or not sure, definitely recommend it.
What's some future opportunities for enhancing behavioral support in Y Club programs? What's happening?
So we are currently working on a summer rollout program where we go and teach social emotional learning activities to our summer camp sites. We want to bring general knowledge to everyone. I know everyone is trauma smart trained, so that does help them recognize traumas, but initiating that with our students is so paramountly important for our students to understand how we can kind of navigate so that they can kind of have that sense of independence to work on their own emotions and not need somebody to necessarily interject all the time. So having that ability and bringing these activities to site directors and site supervisors that could really incorporate that with their programs and with their summer camps in order to help groups as a whole. Because as we all know, our summer camp programs are very populated. We have lots of students, and working with lots of students at one time can become very overwhelming with students who have a higher behavior need, and there's only 3 of us over here. So we do as much as we can, but we want to make it to where our site supervisors and directors can do little bits on their own independently, so that when they have us as supports, we can help in a proactive way, not in a reactive way. We want to kind of set everybody else up for success. Now, in the realm of behaviors, we are still adapting our knowledge. We're always training. We're always looking across the board. So we are currently working with IACA PAP, which is a training program that talks about international mental health, so that we can kind of bring new ideas to our region and kind of see where we travel from there.
Brecken, you've mentioned several things, these leadership skills and ability to make friends. And how have you felt personally and or noticed changes in yourself? Obviously, you've gotten older. You've had these techniques, but what are some of the things that you feel different about yourself after going through and working with Sydney and then taking those going home and working with your parents?
I think I've noticed that if I go places now, I can make new friends with people, and it's not like I just go there and I don't have fun because there's nothing to do. And I also think with that knowledge, I can help my sister find friends, because she comes home sometimes with the stories of like, I struggled today at school or something, and it's nice to just kind of help her figure out what she needs to do, because remembering that I struggled at school, and it's nice to have those tools to show her what to do so she doesn't have to struggle. And then it also helps her learn those tools, so for future generations, she knows what to do and she knows how to help.
You're a pretty cool kid.
Thanks.
Maybe we'll just kind of. I've got a couple more final 4 questions for you, but I'll let Brittany have the final word. What hopes do you have for Brecken's future, and how do you think his time at Y Club has set him up for success?
I think, I hope he does whatever he wants to do. I think he's got some good ideas about future careers and where he wants to move to, Colorado in the mountains, in a cabin by himself, which some days I feel that.
I feel like this was taken from somebody.
But in all seriousness, he's, Sydney talked about the house program where they got to do challenges and earn points and be a leader through peer mentor. He is a really good leader, and I hope that he leans into that. I've seen him be a leader in new settings. I've seen him be a leader at home. And I've seen him try new things I didn't think before he would. Yesterday, one of his newfound loves is going to the gym. And yesterday he was just like, I want to try all these new machines. And as a 34-year-old, I was like, I would never, but you go right on ahead. And I think just giving him that positive sense of I learned how to be a leader. I learned how to lean into my strengths, and maybe if it's not a strength, how do I make it a strength? So I think he's just, can't wait to see him grow up. I mean, he's almost taller than me now, but.
Got a little sly smirk on his face, doesn't he? Anything else you'd add? What didn't I ask today?
Well, I think we covered a lot of it. I think the only thing that I would really like to add is how incredibly proud I am of you and all of the work you have done for you, because where Miss Sydney's done some stuff, you put forth the work and you did it, and you should be proud of you as much as I am proud of you too.
That's awesome. So Sydney, how does, it's so unique. This came out in the opening, and it came out and we were having a conversation in the hallway before the start. It's so unique that the YMCA has the ability to deliver this behavioral health component.
Yes.
It's unique. Maybe just speak to how that makes you feel as you find that support as a professional.
Absolutely. So I actually learned through our travel work, going to YMCA conferences and kind of educating other YMCAs about what we do.
You went down to Florida recently, right?
I did. We've been in Florida. We were in South Carolina a few weeks ago. We visited the autism conference in Overland Park. So we have traveled around quite a bit this year, and learning that a lot of YMCAs do not have the ability to have a behavior support, and they're kind of facilitating the support themselves. We met lots and lots of directors who were really just kind of picking our brains about how we have this team and how we're able to have this team, and how they could get one because they need it. The need is so widespread throughout the United States that we are very blessed to have the resources we do so that we can help our children be successful. And that program specifically alone helps lots and lots of children across the Kansas City metro area. We work with different kiddos every single day, and we have new kiddos come and join us throughout each day. So we are able to lend a support where a lot of families felt like they weren't receiving support or aren't receiving support because the systems are just not in place.
I love the title of this podcast because it's called The Movement, because the YMCA is a movement. It's see a need, respond. And doesn't matter where you begin that timeline. And we've been doing this for 165 years in Kansas City, that whether it's kids coming off the farms into the cities, there's a need to help those kids adapt to this new life in a big city. There is see a need across the big pond, and, soldiers in World War I and World War II see a need and be able to go across the Atlantic Ocean and support soldiers who are away from home. There's a see a need when you look at housing, when all those people came back and the Y builds all these dormitories and they respond to a housing crisis. There's a see a need to the health crisis in the 70s, and the YMCA begins to get into healthy living practices. There is the see a need, and I get on this platform because this is what we do, and we've been doing it, but you see a need when women enter the workforce and there is need for childcare. So here we leap forward. There's chronic disease management. Now we are in this behavioral health support world. See a need, respond. So I'm so proud of you and your team.
Thank you very much.
What you do, because it's unique.
Thank you so much.
It's unique. This is the last one, and I'll start with Sydney on this one. Who has inspired you the most?
So in regards to the work that I do, I am very inspired by the families I serve. I don't necessarily look up to one person as much as I view all of the successes I have had over time. So all of the progression that my students have done and that I have had just even the littlest of hand in, those are the ones I look up to the most because they've put forth all of the effort to be there.
Brittany?
I would say my kids, whether it be Brecken or Ellie, his sister, just their not only resilience, their lack of caring for their kids. They know they're not being judged, and just their excitement for every day.
Brecken, who inspires you the most?
Probably either my parents or people who will go to, I guess people who go places and don't have a fear of what they're doing. People who will start chants or start things, just being a fearless person. I like seeing those people because then it makes me feel like I don't have to worry about people looking at me and thinking, oh, what he's doing is weird. It's just kind of doing what I want to do and having fun instead of worrying about people. Those are the people I look up to.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Woo. What a story. What a connection. And it's just, I'm so proud to be able to share this one, and congratulations to all of you. And thank you for being here today. That my friends right there is Brecken and Brittany and Sydney. And it is a wonderful story. So thank you for being on the movement today.
You're so
and
welcome.
telling your
Thank you.
story and having the courage, which I think is one of those things you just mentioned, having the ability to step out and talk about things. I think that gets us all down the road a little bit further. So thank you. Just a reminder that the Y is a place where goals are achieved, friendships are built, and lives, as you can see today, are truly changed. Stay motivated, stay connected, and keep moving forward with us in the movement. Together, we're building a stronger community, just like we did today, one story at a time. Thanks for spending time with us on the movement. Visit kansascitymca.org for more information. And be sure to follow the YMCA of Greater Kansas City on social media for the latest updates.